Good afternoon and welcome to another Asian Sky Media video. I'm Alan Davis. I'm the Media and Communications Director here at Asian Sky Group and Asian Sky Media. And I'm joined today by the company's CEO, Jeffrey Lowe. Jeffrey C. Lowe, I should say.
Yes, Jeffrey C. Lowe. Don't forget that Cameron. Thank you.
How are you today, Jeff?
Good.
So we're going to talk about a couple of topics today. First of all, and most importantly, we're going to talk about the upcoming ASGVEC virtual exhibition and conference.
Yes.
Before we go into that, I just wanted to briefly mention that there's a new way of seeing these videos, and that's with the introduction of our new digital magazine, the new version of Asian Sky Quarterly,
Yes.
of which this is the first one. This video is actually going to be embedded within that magazine itself. And that move into a digital magazine leads us quite nicely into the virtual exhibition and conference, which of course is coming up in September.
Yes.
So can you talk through what people can expect when they do attend?
Well, first of all, it as you say, it is part of if you will, a movement by us more into that digital space. We have sort of been on the fringes of the conference exhibitions, if you will, industry in the past, where we've helped organizers with building agendas and getting speakers and panelists. Again, leveraging our relationships in the region to help bring them good content, which of course then enhances the whole conference and exhibition. So we're kind of taking the next step, if you will, which is kind of natural to take it all on ourselves. This will hopefully be the first of many, not the first and last. So hopefully we'll be able to digest this all and survive through it so that we'll be crazy enough to say, let's do it again next year. As far as what people can expect, well, we've partnered with a platform provider out of, well, I guess I'd have to say Toronto, Miami, called Gather, Let's Gather. And they've created this platform called Metaverse. And that allows a fully immersive experience into somewhat, I'm going to say a virtual reality, but it's a virtual reality that doesn't require the goggles and everything else. It's like any kind of, well, actually it is based off of Unreal Engine, so using Epic Games, same sort of technology and platform that they have. So we're now in the process of creating this conference and exhibition that leverages all that to make it such that we can recreate, and I think it's going to be very realistic too. We can recreate an A-base or an MBA or an E-base online. We're going to make it a unique Asia-Pacific experience. But for someone who's coming, who's either an exhibitor or someone who wants to be an attendee, literally his experience will be much like going to a very traditional kind of trade show in our industry. Having said all that, because it's a virtual space, hopefully we can introduce a little spice as well, if you will, because really when you go to designing your booth now for your show, you're not limited by what that construction company can do for you. It's virtual now, so you can take on any kind of imaginative, if you will, format that you wish to recreate that on the platform. So for some of the exhibitors, for instance, we have them recreating their headquarters online to take people through that whole experience. We've got people recreating their maintenance hangar. That's their priority at the moment. So they want to be able to, because they physically can't get people to travel within the Asia Pacific at the moment. It's kind of like, well, let me take you there then. And let me take you there virtually, and you'll be able to see a fully, if you will, recreated, photorealistic rendition of that maintenance hangar where you can go in, tour the machine shop, tour the spares and logistics department, and be able to have that whole experience. Well, for the customer, have him make that whole big pitch to that new customer, and hopefully then have them go away with going, wow, that's quite an impressive facility.
And so one of the key components of an A-base or an MBAA that you mentioned earlier is an aircraft on static display. Yeah. So how does it work?
I would say there are two things. There's the static display, and then, as you and I both know, there's just that bumping into everybody. Okay, so yeah.
But how does that work with specifically with the static display? First of all, are there aircraft involved?
Yeah, the platform allows you to not only recreate, if you will, a structure, but we can recreate the aircraft on the platform as well. And so again, you've got the same, a fully realistic, life-size, if you will, photorealistic model of a 8X or a 6X or a 550 or whatever it is you choose. You can recreate that on the platform. And instead of having a client go to your website and maybe look at a bunch of photographs, and he does that without having the ability to interact with you, or you don't even have the ability to know when he did it, now you can meet with that client in your virtual showroom, if you will, where you have the aircraft sitting. You can meet with him and take him up the stairs and take him into the cabin and give him a tour of the cabin. And the avatar that you've assumed, everyone gets an avatar, so everyone has their own personality, if you will, if they want. You can take them through the cabin. The salesman can meet with his client from Korea or wherever it may be. Take him through. He has a pointer, so he can highlight things. He has a magnifying function, so if he wants to blow up a PSU panel or something, or highlight the stitching in the seats, or some sort of fine detail, he can do that as well. But the real sort of pièce de résistance is you can now take people on board and actually take them on a tour through the cabin. Lavatory is there, the baggage compartment is there. If they want to know how big it is, we'll take them back there and show it to them. If they want to see the cockpit and go through the functionality of the cockpit, you could have one of your test pilots sitting up there as well, and he could take him through a demo. Okay. You can have pop-ups, you can have other animations. If you wanted to show one of the seats going flat, for instance, you could incorporate that into it. So not only can I deliver what I would have sort of in a static, but now I can also integrate into that all kinds of enhancements too, to hopefully make that experience for the client even better, because I can have all these pop-ups or have all these animations. But again, the big thing is you're doing it with him. And what happens is the avatars, the face of the avatar becomes the webcam on your camera. So when you sit down and you engage with that person, you're actually looking at each other in real time. Yes, it's over your webcam, but wherever you are and wherever he is, you're actually sitting across from each other, possibly in the club seating, and you're talking to one another. And I can see you, I can see your facial expressions, I can see your reactions. So the level of engagement is quite high. If you're on the show floor or on the exhibition hall and you're just walking around, you literally could, maybe you see someone from behind. The avatars are customized, so maybe you're looking to talk to someone from Dassault Aviation. So you see up ahead of you, maybe 10 feet away, an avatar that's got a big Dassault, Falcon jet logo on the back. So you know that. So you can literally go up there and see who it is. You're able to converse with that person. The webcam comes on, and you're able to see each other and talk. So it does really mimic that sort of true-to-life sort of engagement that you would get normally just sort of walking around the exhibit floor. And that's the other thing. We talked about the static, but the other side of it is there is this, I'm going to use the word networking, but it's even more fundamental than that, in that you can literally just walk around and bump into people. I mean, I'm sure you've been to enough shows and you have to go from one booth to another, and it takes you 25 minutes because you always bump into people along the way that you haven't seen, and you get into little chats and conversations. But those all add to the experience and the value that you take away from those shows. So you'll be able to get that with this platform as well. Because of the platform and the abilities that you have built into it, the functionality, you can use your time pretty efficiently as well. Basically, you move around. Sure, you can go from exhibit hall to exhibit hall or from booth to booth, but they have a teleport function. So you can actually teleport, okay, Star Trek, energize, Scotty. You can literally move around from space to space very quickly. And so you can hopefully have a fairly packed routine, but you can move around very quickly between one spot to another because you're literally energizing or transporting yourself from one place to another. So very efficient use of your time as well.
You mentioned the whole process of sort of bumping into somebody and starting a conversation with them as you go along. Are there any privacy concerns there?
Well, again, there are, of course. But the way those are catered to is the platform has what I think most people kind of in that industry, gaming industry, know is spatial sound. So what will happen is that When you're in the exhibit hall, just like true to life, I'm not going to hear a guy 20 feet away from me, but someone who's 2 feet away or 5 feet away, I'm going to hear them at different volume levels. So the people that are closest to me, of course, are maybe the people that I want to talk to, I'm going to be able to hear them clearly. And what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to initiate a private conversation. And so that then becomes, if you will, a conversation that's not open to any other parties. There will be a light on your avatars that go on to sort of indicate that you guys are in a discussion. You can bring other people into that by invitation. So maybe you ran into Gary Dulski from Metrojet, and Kitty from the marketing department then came along and you wanted her to join. You can get her to come in, and now it's 3 people in a conversation, but that's a private conversation. And so as long as they stay within that conversation, everything will be just between the 3 parties that are there.
So we've talked about the exhibition, but there's a conference as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
How's this working in parallel? Is it first of all in parallel?
Yeah, it's all happening at the same time. I guess some people will say we're either inspired people to have taken on that challenge, or others will say you're nuts. But for us, both parts are pretty important. Again, the exhibition is one side, but we do have a conference running at the same time. Certainly part of the logic of doing that is one feeds the other. Okay, and certainly someone who may come to the conference, they now have the extra added value that once they finish their panel, they can now go into the exhibit halls and walk around and visit all the booths. And vice versa, if I'm an exhibitor, I now have the ability to look through the agenda and cherry pick what I want to go see and listen to as well. So yeah, so they're both going on at the same time. There is, as well as the exhibit halls, you now do have an auditorium, and that auditorium will again allow people to sit down, listen to the panel that's up on the stage, and you'll have multimedia functions is there. So if the presenter needs to, he can do videos, PowerPoints, whatever. Slido will have as well, so people in the audience can ask questions. So it'll be very similar sort of format to other online conferences. But again, you're sitting in the audience, and you may suddenly notice that, you're sitting next to me. And so whereas in a Zoom call or something, I have no idea who else is there other than my fellow panelists, okay? Yes, there's a participant list on the side, and I can scroll down through that. But now it's just like at a conference. I can see either sitting in front of me or sitting behind me or sitting next to me are people, and I won't be able to speak to them because it's a conference. I'm not supposed to be talking. I can send them a private chat because there's a chat function. So I can send it, hey, I could go, hey, Alud, you got 5 minutes after this conference. I need to talk to you about something. And then we can step outside and have that conversation. But the difference here being is I know you're next to me, and I know on my other side there's someone here, or maybe 2-3 people down. I know there's someone else that I wanted to have a word with, and I can do that now. So it's much like a real conference. And again, so you get that networking, that ability to just run into people again and have chats.
And so the conference and exhibition is running between September the 14th and September the 16th. What sort of times?
This was a tricky one, and part of the reason why we're limiting there are a number of reasons. The conference and exhibition is limited to just 4 hours every day. And part of that is because it's virtual. And I think we would all agree expecting someone to stay on their computer in an avatar for 8 hours a day or something just isn't going to happen. And certainly I think everyone has a limit to how long that they will stay within the exhibit hall. And we don't expect it to be 4 hours. But what we've had to do also, we've tried to make it a global event. And that meant trying to find the time zones that cross all parts of the world. And so that means certainly, unfortunately, in the Asia Pacific region, that means we're going to be busy in the evenings from 8 o'clock till midnight. I guess I'd like to say that most of us are used to that, but that's not trying to make that as an excuse. So what we've got is for the Asia Pacific, it runs from 8 till midnight. So that means in the US market, it's from 8 a.m. to noon in the market. And then in Europe, it's from 2 till 6 o'clock in the early evening. So we're trying to give the ability to the exhibitors and likewise to all the panelists be able to draw from all parts of the world. And hopefully, again, that's an added value to an exhibitor where he now feels, hey, yes, I'm going to have the ability to reach out to the Asia Pacific region, but there's going to be people from Europe there. There's going to be people from the US there. So hopefully it is this big melting pot where a lot of things can happen. So.
Perfect. Thanks, Jeff. And so one last quick question. Is there a special website that people can go to?
Yes, we've got a dedicated website, www.ASGVEC, so Asian Sky Group Virtual Exhibition and Conference .com. And so for updates, copies of the agenda, times, profiles, bios, you name it, that's all on the website. And so I encourage you all to go there. And most importantly, I encourage you all to register. It's complimentary, so there's no cost to join the event, either the conference or the exhibition. But you do need to register, because with registration comes a specific link, which is where you'll create your avatar, and that link is unique to you. So again, you can't pass your link around and have other people use that to register. It has to be unique to you. So everybody needs to get on and everybody needs to register. So I encourage you to do that as soon as possible. But yes, go to the website, register, get yourself sorted out. So.
Perfect. I think we'll leave it there. Thanks, Jeff.
All right. My pleasure.